now what we're going to do is we're going to review the first of two tasks for someone who has suffered a spinal cord injury to be able to go from side lying to supine, side lying to long sit. And again, we're going to show you the strategy for someone who has had a spinal cord injury at the C6 level, someone who does not have the use of their triceps. So there are two ways to do this. We're going to review through the first strategy. Okay, so and what we'll do is we'll start from the side lying position. So I would just ask you to go back and review the video on rolling for someone who does not have triceps at the C6 level, and then you'll understand. So here what we'll do is we'll start from the first strategy of the walk around method. So after we have rolled and we're into this position, what we can do, there's a couple ways to do this, but the one way we try to do is we can see if the person can actually use the back of their hand here, the heel of their hand, to try to stabilize on their forehead. The reason we try to have them do this is because if we can get the distal end fixed onto their head, it helps them to be able to use their proximal muscles better in order to be able to come up and start the process of coming to long sit. So we try to stabilize here at the forehead, and then the other thing we want to do is also use the strategy again of momentum, trying to get some rocking going and see if we can teach the person to be able to come up onto their forearms here. And again, this person who has suffered the spinal cord injury, we're at the C6 level, so they have no ability to use their triceps. So just like we had talked about in the rolling video, all this comes from the shoulder. And if C6, then you would know that they're fully innervated at C5, so they're fully innervated at the shoulders. So from here what we want to do is there's a couple things we want to keep in mind. We have to be able to de-weight so that we can move our arms here. So what I want to do on my right side, I'm going to kind of de-weight and put weight onto my right forearm using my posterior delts on the right side so that I can use my shoulders, my lateral deltoids, my anterior deltoids to start moving to the left. Now here what I want to try to do is keep walking all the way around and get as far as I can. If I start the process and end the walk around here, well, I'll talk about that in a minute. We're going to try to go around all the way around here. We're going to get as far around as we can, because if the further we get around, it helps us be more successful at this strategy. And again, what I want to do now is I'm going to externally rotate here at the shoulder, and I want to try to get this arm. I'm going to take some weight through my right arm, and I want to take this arm, and I'm going to try to slowly do. I'm just going to bring it back to behind my knees here. Now behind my knees, if you think of someone who has suffered an injury at the C6 level, my C5 is innervated, right? So I can, if I have my arm and my hand against the back of the leg like this, I can use my biceps at C5 to stabilize. At C6 I have some wrist extensors, so I can kind of use my wrist extensors to stabilize there, just like this. Now what I don't want to do, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this side here. I'm going to stabilize here, and then I'm going to keep my hand down on the mat. Again, try to fix my distal end, my hand, to the mat. And I want to teach the person how to use their external rotators of the shoulder. I'm going to stay forward. And I want to try to get them to use those external rotators of the shoulder. And then you'll see I'm stabilizing here on my left side. And I'm just going to try to come up this way here until I'm in the long sitting position. But I will say, just to go back a little bit, if we try that whole process back here and we don't walk around far enough, and I'm trying to swing around here, and I haven't walked around far enough, the moment I try to come up, most likely I'm just going to fall right back down. So that's why we want to make sure we're walking as far around as we can. The other mistake is when people are fixed here, they're trying to pull with the arm behind the legs, they're trying to pull, and the only thing that happens is as they try to pull themselves up, most likely they're pulling their legs towards them, and they will be unsuccessful. So if we got to get around far enough, we're just stabilizing here, and then we're just teaching the person how to use those external rotators. And once we're here, we can kind of just come up like that to the point where we're in the long sitting position. Now you can see I have tight hamstrings, so I can just let them, I can keep the knees flexed a little bit and just keep the knees bent a little bit so that I'm not overstretching my lower back muscles by keeping the legs straight. So if someone has tight hamstrings, it's okay to keep the knees bent. Now just to end, in my hand position, you can see I want to make sure I'm maintaining tenodesis, because I want to make sure that I'm not overstretching my finger flexors here. The other mistake people will make is our hands are back here. You really want to try to keep the hands in front of the hips. You're externally rotated at the shoulder because I don't have triceps. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to stay stable. So even here, I'm trying to use my external rotators, which are fully innervated. At C5, I'm maintaining tenodesis, and my hands are in front of my hips. And then that would be the first strategy.